Have you ever noticed how some of the most coveted items in the world don't carry a single logo? It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? In the world of luxury, Bottega Veneta decided it doesn't need to prove itself. And, curiously, this makes millionaires chase after every bag, shoe, and accessory. It's almost a secret rule. The less it shouts, the more everyone wants. But why does this work so well? What does the brand know that most people still don't understand? While the general public associates wealth with ostentation, the elite have discovered something different. True power lies in silence, discretion, and the maturity of those who don't need to show anything. Imagine entering a room and feeling respected without having to say a word. That's exactly the feeling millions seek when choosing Bottega Veneta. And that's where the magic begins. A brand that transforms invisibility into desire and exclusivity into culture. What if I told you that understanding this logic can completely change the way you perceive luxury, status, and even financial decisions? That by paying attention to what Bottega teaches, you can apply the same principles to build a powerful image without shouting to the world who you are? Today, we'll delve into this silent universe, discover the secrets of this brand, and understand why it has won over millionaires without ever needing to show its logo. The philosophy. When your own name is enough. The silent luxury that speaks louder than any brand. It's curious how some brands don't need to raise their voices to be heard. Bottega Veneta is exactly like that. It walks calmly, like someone who has already discovered that they don't need to prove anything to anyone. The house's philosophy has always been this: let the product speak, not the logo. Like an experienced mentor who observes the world in silence, the brand transmits power with the calmness of someone who understands their own value. And deep down, millionaires connect with this energy because they live by the same principle, even if they don't realize it. When someone holds a piece from Bottega, they feel something that doesn't come from a brand name, but from a discreet presence that almost whispers, "I know who I am." That, in itself, is a form of power. It's similar to that person who enters a room and doesn't need to shout to be noticed. Their natural confidence does the work. Many millionaires seek exactly that: products that reflect their financial and emotional maturity. It's like saying, "I don't need to show off to validate my success." And this thought resonates deeply with Bottega's proposition. And it is precisely this elegant silence that opens space for a more intimate connection between brand and consumer. When luxury sheds its ostentatious uniform, it transforms almost into a philosophy of life. And that's where Bottega reigns. It doesn't deliver a symbol, it delivers a feeling. A feeling that, incidentally, will lead us to understand why so many wealthy people shy away from obvious logos. And this opens a very interesting door for the next step we will explore together. Why do extremely wealthy people avoid logos? What's most fascinating about real millionaires is that the richer they become, the less they want to prove it to the world. There's a curious psychology at play. The invisible power. They discover early on that giant logos are more useful for those who want to appear rich than for those who truly are. After all, those who already have inner security prefer to hide behind discreet choices. It's as if they're saying, without words, "My wealth doesn't need a uniform." This behavior is very apparent in everyday life. You can notice it. That entrepreneur who has accumulated years of success rarely uses flashy brands. He will prefer a cashmere sweater without a visible label, or an elegant bag that only those who know him well can identify. It's the same pattern observed in veteran investors, elite, writers or CEOs you see at airports using simple yet absurdly expensive backpacks. They avoid the spotlight, but they don't compromise on quality, a combination that explains why Bottega resonates so well with this group. And, interestingly, this discreet choice creates an almost secret link between people of the same financial level. Anyone who recognizes a Bottega piece in a crowd already knows that there's someone there who values excellence above appearances. It's like a silent code, understood only by those who have already passed the stage of trying something. And if this logic seems interesting, wait until you see how the brand's artisanal heritage further reinforces this identity, which leads us directly to the next point. The Italian artisanal heritage, when technique becomes a signature and replaces the logo. Bottega Veneta understood something few brands have. When the technique is impeccable, it becomes the symbol itself. The intrecciato, that hand-woven leather, braid wasn't born as a fashion statement, but as a solution to reinforce the material without losing flexibility. Over time, it became an identity. It's almost like calligraphy. Those who know it recognize it from afar. Millionaires value this because they see something rare there: time, patience, and absolute mastery of the process. There is a huge difference between something produced quickly and something built with intention. A Bottega craftsman spends hours, sometimes days, repeating the same gesture until the leather responds in the right way. This speaks directly to the mindset of someone who has built wealth over decades, not months. It's the same principle as those who prefer to invest in solid companies, like Berkshire Hathaway, instead of chasing quick gains. Technique communicates longevity, and that has a gigantic emotional impact. And here something powerful happens. The consumer stops buying a bag and starts acquiring a living story. They don't carry a logo, they carry a process. It's like wearing a fine mechanical watch. It's not about telling time, it's about respecting the mechanism. This reverence for detail creates a deeper, almost cultural kind of desire. And when the brand realizes this, it also changes the way it communicates with the world. Which leads us to another silent yet strategic move: how Bottega transformed silence into cultural identity. While many brands compete for attention as if in a noisy auction, Bottega Veneta did the opposite. It chose silence as its language. It understood that, in true luxury, less information generates more curiosity. Instead of shouting campaigns, it began to whisper meanings. This creates a powerful psychological effect, because human beings tend to value more what needs to be discovered, not what is spoon-fed. A clear example of this was when the brand decided to leave social media. To many, it seemed crazy. To those who understand storytelling, it was brilliant. The silence became the topic of conversation, and the mystery became free marketing. It's like that person who disappears for a while and, without realizing it, makes everyone wonder where they are. Millionaires recognize this game because they experience something similar. The less they expose themselves, the more control they have over their own image. This type of storytelling creates a sense of belonging. Those who consume Bottega feel they are part of a group that understands without needing to explain. It's not about visible status, it's about understanding context. And when a brand achieves this, it stops selling products and starts selling identity. But this silence doesn't happen by chance. It intensified when new creatives took over. And that's where the story begins. Reinvention under Daniel Lee and Matteo Blasi. When minimalism becomes a fervent desire. When Daniel Lee took over Bottega Veneta, he didn't try to reinvent luxury. He simply removed the excess. Instead of adding symbols, he refined sensations. Bags, shoes, and clothes began to evoke desire without demanding attention, something rare in a market addicted to noisy novelty. It was like that mentor who doesn't change who you are, just adjusts your focus, and suddenly everything makes sense. Millionaires noticed this immediately. Later, with Matteo Blasi, the brand further deepened this logic. He brought an almost invisible sophistication, where the design seems simple at first glance, but reveals complexity when observed calmly. It's similar to a good book. The reading flows, but the content reverberates for days. Those who already have a repertoire understand this kind of depth, and that's why Bottega went from a respected brand to an object of cultural desire. This reinvention not only created a trend, it created legitimacy. The pieces began to appear in the right places, on the right people, without seeming strategic. And when that happens, luxury ceases to be fashion and becomes a language. The most interesting thing is to realize how this aesthetic choice directly reflects the life stage and financial situation of the consumer. And it is precisely about this silent maturity that the next point begins to reveal. Why millionaires see Bottega as a symbol of financial maturity. There comes a point in one's financial life when a person stops buying to impress and starts buying to represent themselves. Bottega Veneta often appears precisely at this stage. It's not about price, it's about internal alignment. When someone chooses something discreet and expensive, they are saying, even silently, that they don't need external approval to validate their achievements. That is pure financial maturity. Millionaires often follow a similar path. First come the excesses, then the filter. Many start with flashy cars, gaudy clothes, and enormous watches. Over time, they exchange these for more subtle, yet better, choices. It's like someone who moves from accumulating books to rereading the same few essential volumes, such as Think and Grow Rich, or The Richest Man in Babylon. Bottega fits right in there as a symbol of this refinement. And this type of choice creates enormous psychological comfort. The person doesn't need to explain themselves, justify their spending, or prove anything. They feel at home with themselves. The brand functions almost like a mirror of this stage of life: calm, secure, conscious. And when this happens, an interesting consequence arises in the market. These pieces begin to carry value beyond their use, something that goes far beyond clothing. And this leads us directly to the next point. Why do these pieces gain value, go viral, and create a global cult following? When a brand chooses silence, it automatically filters its audience. Bottega Veneta doesn't try to please everyone, and that's precisely why it becomes so desirable. The effect is curious. The less it exposes itself, the more people talk about it. This paradox creates value. In the luxury market, exclusivity doesn't arise from forced scarcity, but from the natural selectivity of those who understand the message. This phenomenon is clearly evident in the appreciation of the pieces. Bottega bags frequently appear on lists of items that maintain or even increase their value over time, not because of immediate hype, but because of aesthetic and cultural consistency. It's like investing in a good property in a solid area, instead of betting on fleeting fads. Millionaires see this easily because they have already learned that what lasts is more valuable than what shines quickly. And what's most interesting is the silent cult following that forms. Those who buy, defend. Those who understand, recommend. Those who recognize, respect. Without fanfare, the brand creates a global community based on its reputation, not on advertising. And when a brand reaches this point, it begins to point the way to the future of luxury. A future that doesn't shout, but asserts itself with elegance. That's exactly what we begin to see in the next section. The future of logo-free luxury. What Bottega teaches brands, consumers, and those aspiring to wealth. Luxury is changing address. It no longer resides in the obvious, the flashy, or the noisy. Bottega Veneta shows that the sophistication of the future will be discreet, almost imperceptible to those who are not paying attention. For brands, this is a clear lesson. Creating real value is more important than shouting about identity. For consumers, it's an invitation to rethink choices and prioritize quality, history, and experience over appearance. Those who understand this realize that the change is not aesthetic, but philosophical. The logo gives way to narrative, advertising yields to authenticity, and desire is built on experience, not exposure. An investor, for example, can apply the same principle. Seek assets that grow discreetly and appreciate quietly, instead of chasing high-risk fads. The logic is simple but powerful. Less ostentation, more impact. And the great final lesson is that this trend is a silent revolution, yet visible to those who know how to see it. What we learned from Bottega Veneta isn't just about expensive handbags or shoes. It's about maturity, perception, and strategy. A mindset that applies to finances, lifestyle, and legacy. This is the kind of insight that transforms how we look at everything around us, preparing the ground for understanding how luxury will evolve, silently, in the coming years. Now that you know the secrets of Bottega Veneta and how silent luxury wins over millionaires, the question remains: are you applying the same principle to your life? Do you overexpose yourself trying to prove something you've already achieved? Or can you let your worth speak for itself? Think about your choices, your work, your investments, even the way you present yourself, and see where excessive ostentation might be hindering you. And if you truly want to evolve, start small. Invest in quality, in details that only those who understand notice, and observe how this transforms people's perception of you. Ask yourself, am I building a reputation or just displaying labels? This is the kind of reflection that separates those who stand out quietly from those who try to appear without foundation. Did you enjoy learning this? Then don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and follow our upcoming videos, because we still have much to discover about luxury, strategy, and quiet power. We want to hear from you. How can you apply these principles today to start building a powerful presence without having to shout it from the rooftops?